The next speaker will then zoom in a little bit more about what's happening in Malaysia and locally. He is none other than our local champion for the environment, often speaking up, often the spokesperson on environmental issues in Penang, Mr. Kandar Kumar. He is currently the advisor to the Malaysian Nature Society, MNS, in Penang, and an honorary member of MNS. He has been actively involved in nature conservation through MNS since 1971. He is also a former MNS National Council member, former chairman of MNS Penang, and former vice president of BirdLife International Asia Division. An expert on the biodiversity in Penang, we welcome Mr. Kandar Kumar.
One thing about when you are in a forum like this, you are not sure what the other forum speakers will be. This thing, you may be repeating quite a lot of what they're saying because a topic like this has got the same thing. So I hope you will bear in mind with me if I repeat what the previous forum speaker has already said. I've been as YB just now said, I've been a member since I was maybe 21 or 22. And I'm still active in the society. And MNS is a membership-based organization. And one problem with membership-based organization, if the member says do this, party official says, no, I want to do my way. There's no way. If the members want this, you have to follow. And one example is when they built the dam in Fraser's Hill. We were so much against this thing, and the members from MNS members in Selangor say, what, you Penang fellas have got enough water, you all can oppose us. But the dam project itself has caused a lot of problems in Sungai Selangor. One of the most affected is the fireflies itself because of intrusion of salt water. So there's a lot of problems in a membership-based organization. You follow what the members want rather than what is right? Okay, so just to tell you know what the difference between membership-based organization and corporate organizations. Okay, I'll try and not repeat what the previous speaker spoke, so I will just bear in mind. And I will go briefly through what are the causes of this thing. Most of you would already know. I'm more going to talk about what is going to happen rather than the solutions. The solutions are all there. People have given solutions, experts have given the solutions, whether the people responsible want to follow what has been advised, or they're thinking more of money and say, no, we will do this later. Okay? Okay, I'll go through this first. What is climate change? Climate change is when through our activities, the earth becomes hotter and hotter. This changes the climate, and that is what causes climate change because of the heating up of the atmosphere. Okay, and it gives you the rate of change. And you must understand some animals are very sensitive to change. Even half a degree of change can kill them, right? So that's why it's very important. And of course, these are all your greenhouse gases that has been going on for a long time. And who is the main culprit? Climate change, global warming is a natural process that has been going on for millions of years. The earth cools down, gets hot, cools down. But it takes thousands of years to happen. What we have done in the last few hundred years changed that. So it's very hard for animals to adapt to the change. Okay? In the last few years, the main culprits for greenhouse gases is burning of fossil fuel. Right? Fossil fuel, every time you drive a car, you go on a bus even, you go on a plane, which is much worse, you're already causing all these changes. the comforts in your house, aircon on all the while, your fridge, and of course, agriculture. Your rice fields causes a lot of problems. All your cows and sheep that you rear also cause problems. So, and why do we need all this? Because you got more people in the world, which is another problem, global population explosion. To cater for this, you need all this, which causes more. So it's like a vicious circle going around. Okay? I'll go through this fast now. The rates of temperature change, right? Okay? What are the things that will happen if the temperature goes up? Once it gets hotter, not only human beings cannot stand it, animals cannot stand it, and certain microbes, viruses thrive on higher temperature. So they will become more, their growth will be, and you will have more disease and other things, right? Of course, as already mentioned, your ice cap melts, right? The other thing is what they call thermofrost. It's below the tundra, there's like peat which is frozen. With global warming, this melts, and all the pine trees that stand just drop down because there's no more soil there, because it's all melting. And when this starts decaying, you get a lot of methane gas, and this is causing another big problem of global warming. So that's why I say it's a vicious circle, right? Okay, when you get flooding, your agriculture is gone. Not just your houses are gone, your agriculture is gone, and your fisheries industry is also affected. So, and remember, seafood is an important source of protein and food for people. Okay, this is nothing new. It has been going on all the while, and this is what's happening now. We got bad weather, fierce weather. People in Malaysia or Penang have not really experienced that, but other places have really been hard hit. Huge waves, flooding. So we must think, what are we going to leave our children? When I mean our children, 100 years from now, the future generation, what are we going to leave? We are still enjoying good things even now, right? Although we complain so much. We are still having this all, no problem. Although it's reduced, the corals are actually a lot of dying. And these birds here, they were not resident in Malaysia. They were migrants. In the last 5 years, a lot of them already duduk sini already. No more go back. Okay, these are the things that we are enjoying. But at the rate we are going, this is what we will be leaving our future generation in 100, 200 years' time, right? Provided we can still survive so long. Your nuclear waste, one accident is going to cause a lot of problems. You've got burning. You pollute all your rivers. All the rubbish you throw goes along your coast and ends up in somebody else's coast. And diseases cause your wildlife to mutate, right? They will become diseased themselves. You eat those and it passes on. Studies have shown that practically every sea creature has got some kind of minute plastic within its body. So every time you eat any seafood, you are actually eating some plastic. So I always like to show this. These people are now migrant workers in Penang, and they still wear the mask because there is so polluted, and they still think Penang is just as polluted, and they still go around cycling with their masks. So that's why I said Penang is not so badly affected as these people. But This is what's happening, okay? Okay, if 2 degrees of temperature rise, right, you will have a lot of animals dying. Extinction rate will be high, and your biodiversity will drop. That means the different type of animals, plants will be reduced because they cannot cope up, and less. And there's no enough time to evolve new species. Biodiversity is actually keep changing. Naturally, species will die off. Actually, they die off, they evolve to another, adapt to another thing. So this form slowly goes off, the new form carries on, but it's the same one, is improving, right? It's just like when you're young, and then as you grow up, you change like that, but doesn't mean, but in some, the whole species dies because they cannot evolve, right? So the future is very bleak because your biodiversity will drop. And to manage this, there are very few options to manage this because the rate of change is too fast for us to manage. Okay, every time the increase in CO2, right, it affects all your biological and physical process. Here, this is Penang. High tide. This is not sea level rise, just high tide. Your coastal area gets flooded like this, right? Now, if sea level rise, this will be a permanent feature. These trees cannot survive. They will all die off. So your coastal vegetation will be all gone. And what is your major coastal vegetation in Malaysia? Just talk Penang. It's mangroves. Mangroves need flat areas with mud. And if sea level rise is permanently there, there will be no mangroves. And what is the mangroves important for? One, they are the nurseries for all your fisheries. The eggs are laid there, the fry grow up there. Your prawns, your fish have got no more place. And it's an important carbon sink because the mangrove itself, with the mud and the leaves falling down, a lot of your carbon is trapped there, and this will be gone. You lost a big area of carbon sink. Just imagine 15 to 35% will be extinct. That is quite a big sum of species. You are not talking population, you are talking species itself. This will all die off because there's not enough time for them to adapt to this thing. And the rate of extinction, the size, when size means the rate of harmony, is proportional to the degree of global warming. If it's just 0.1%, your degree of change, your extinction will be less. If it's 1 degree, then it goes up, so it's proportional. And this is global, but it will affect us as well, right? But this is looking at a bigger picture. With global warming, water will, in some areas will be less, your quality of water will go. What was dry areas may become wet, and what is wet areas become totally dry. Because we cannot predict which area will be affected by how because of the change in climate. You talk about green energy. Your hydroelectric plant is there. If your global weather pattern changes, you don't have much rain, where is your water for your hydroelectric power? You need the water to drink in the first place. And, Jasani will later talk about it. If you look at the waterfall river, there's so much water flowing in the river when we were young. Now go and see how much water is flowing through. Because that water is used for drinking. They cannot pass it through to the rivers. So the same thing will happen to your hydroelectric this thing. Whether you want the water to drink or you want the water to power your power plant. So that's where even your green energy will go. Flood risk and droughts. This is another risk. Areas will have a lot of water because of heavy rain and flooding, and there will be areas which was all nice with good water suddenly become no more water, right? Well, when you talk of water rationing, it's not new. When I was a kid, I remember Penang had water rationing. Of course, that time PBA was not there. The Penang City Council was running the water there. Even then, in those days, the water authority from the city council itself was considered one of the best managed water resources. It's still going on until now. So we should congratulate the people who are in the water industry in Penang from those days until now to keep the standard going. And the other thing that is predicted is vector-borne diseases like mosquitoes or other vector-borne disease will increase with global change, because some will thrive in hot weather, and where they were under control because of cold, this thing will become warm, and there will be an explosion of this kind of thing. So this is what's happening, or will happen, is already happening. We do not know whether the Ebola outbreak now is really due to global weather war, condition change, or this thing, but it's one of these things. Dengue. Dengue has now spread to even countries like Japan, when dengue was a tropical disease, right? Now even Japan has got dengue. So, and agricultural productivity will definitely drop. One, you don't have enough land. Your coastal areas are all gone flooded, and it's flooded not with fresh water, it's seawater. Other than seaweed, what can you grow in seawater, right? Except rare fish, but no plants, right? So it's gone. So all your food sources, and if your mangroves are not there, where have you got fish from? Where are you going to get your coastal area fish? You have to go to deep sea. And some of that, even the deep sea fishes, have to come to the mangroves when they are fry to survive. So you don't even have that fish. So your fish resources, seafood resources will go. Okay, as earlier said, in the last few years, we have actually pushed up the rate of global warming. And the rate is so fast that animals cannot adapt. Even human beings, when there is a heat wave, you cannot adapt, right? With all the aircon and everything, and still people are dying because it's too hot. How do you expect animals to survive, to change at such a fast rate? So you lose a lot of your animals. I don't know whether your agriculture animals will be able to stand the heat or not, right? They will go off, another food source gone, right? Now, this is just on the Southeast Asian side, right? If you look at it, there's nothing there that on this prediction that is low. Everything high, right? The only this thing is human health. It's not, although vulnerable, it's only 3 because we can intervene in some way. But the others, we can hardly intervene, so it's almost going to critical level. This is not critical level yet, right? So what happens in severe weather, right? Global change, weather pattern change, especially for Penang, both mainland and island, your biggest impact will be the sea level rise. East coast, west coast of the island is lowland. Seberang Prai, how many hills you have? The rest is all lowland, right? Your seawater will masuk, everything gone. Of course, it take 100 years, but within 100 years, where are you going to go? Kandar is not going to accept you. They are already affected. They don't want you. Where you got to go? You have to go up to the hills. And you've already destroyed your hills already by then. Marine and terrestrial, coastal terrestrial, and of course, when you say marine, it's all along the coast, are all affected. Peat swamps are practically gone in Malaysia. Peninsula is, I don't think you can, even the last ones are in Selangor, even gone. Sarawak is practically destroyed itself, so you have no more peat swamp already, right? So that's already gone. That is not, before global warming is already gone. Your corals will die off. And all your mangroves, we already destroyed a lot of mangroves. Whatever remaining mangroves will be all flooded to a high level that there won't be any more mangrove. You won't have any more beaches, right? So, mud flats are very important for your kerang and all these things. All this seafood won't be there. So where are you going to food? Your population, you don't want to control. Keep going up some more. We want a 70 million population for Penang. Isn't that absurd? How a person who's supposed to be a visionary can say Malaysia can support a 70 million population? I just don't understand. And we are still pursuing that kind of policy, even with this threat of global warming. So what will happen? Animals like this will be severely affected. Many of them will go extinct, right? You will lose a lot of flora and fauna. What happens is lowland animals will have to move to higher ground. Then they will displace the higher ground. The higher ground will move higher. The ones that will be affected most are what we call specialists. Lowland specialists, that all the mangrove area, there's no more mangrove. The whole ecosystem, animals and plants in the mangrove area will be gone because they don't have any more place. Then the other one is the highland organisms, what we call montane. Montane are the top of the mountain. When this gets warm, the lower fellas can move up to adapt as they go higher. But the topmost one, where are they going to go? There's no more place higher to go. It's getting too hot. They cannot evolve to adopt. They will go extinct. So the two extremes, the topmost and the lowest, are the first to go off because they got no more place to go, nowhere else to go. This is just to show you what will happen to the mangroves. Mangroves need the tidal flow. Water comes up, brings in nutrients, it goes down. The nutrients that are trapped, other organisms eat them, and then the next wave of tide brings in new nutrients. But what happens here is it's completely flooded. There's no flow of new tide and all. Because when the tide goes up, there's no more coast. It just hits your rock face. All the lowlands will be already flooded, right? So you will have more destruction. Okay, this is to show that corals are very sensitive to change. Change in sunlight, heat, and even suspended particles. So one of the biggest losses will be your your coral reefs. Malaysia has got quite a lot of coral reefs, especially in the East Coast and Sabah and Sarawak areas, especially Sabah. So they will go. This is showing you the corals, animals in the coral, this thing. So the marine environment will be affected. if you just look at this picture, I can't remember which part of mainland Penang I took this photograph. This is normal when the tide is high. If you have global warming and the tide goes up, this will disappear and mostly all this will go off. This will definitely go off. So what have you left? All your coastal area is gone. All the fishing industry there will no more. No more fishermen already, because unless you are deep sea fishing, all your coastal fishermen have to go. They got no place to stay. They no means of income. So have we enough resources to train them to do other jobs? Do you have enough place to resettle them? And when you resettle them, schools, whatever, hospitals and all, are they enough to take all these people in? Because your land mass is getting smaller and smaller. So this is what's going to happen. Natural infrastructure will go off when there's flooding like this. When you actually concentrate people more into a smaller area, the amount of pollutants they produce becomes higher, because there's no natural thing to disperse it off. So you are actually, global warming brings people, everything is concentrated in one area, so your pollution level will be higher. Okay, what are the main areas that will be affected when you have this climate change and due to global warming? Provisions of clean water. One of the things that Penang will be affected most, we are taking water on the lower reaches of the Muda River. At one time, Penang island was supposed to get only 25% of the water. I think by now, less than 25. The rest comes from the Muda River. With global warming, sea level rise, the seawater will go upstream. That's called sea level intrusion. Your pumping station that is now we are pumping our water from the Muda River will be salt water. Where are you going to move? When you move higher, you're already in Kandar. Krian River is useless for taking water because it's already too near the sea. The rest of the Krian is already in Perak. So where are we going to get the water? Your salt, then you have to take seawater and do osmosis to get your fresh water, right? So it will affect energy services and food, right? You will have less food from all over because your rice fields, you cannot grow your rice anymore because first and foremost, all your rivers are actually flowing through your rice growing area. The seawater comes up, it will flood your rice fields, you got no place for your rice. So, where is the rice coming from? And trying to conserve your ecological system, you want to preserve this. How are you going to preserve? They are already all gone already. You don't have the resources to recreate new ones. So all your conservation areas will maybe also gone, right? That's the other thing. And trying to maintain ecological goods. Ecological goods is what are the natural goods you are getting from fresh air, food, other things are all gone. So how are we going to survive when all this thing is reduced? Okay. Now, people like George Bush and the Australian Prime Minister some time ago never believed in global warming. They said, oh, carry on, burn more, all, until there was a change in government, then this thing. The Australian Prime Minister, she was kicked out. She put a tax on that. The new fella comes and takes out the tax. So It's all money. They are not looking at what is actually happening. They're getting money or getting votes. This is their priority. So, we have people, we elect these kind of people into the world, so that's what we get. Now, governments and private sector have to be proactive in trying to solve the global warming problem. It is there, it's not going to go away. We need to do things so that we can reduce the rate of global warming. You cannot stop global warming already. It started thousands of years ago, right? But if we don't do anything, it will just keep rising. So if we do something, maybe we can slowly bring it down. Okay? So the most important people to actually do things are the government and the private sector with policies and all. And you and I have to support these policies and all. But without those policies and initiatives, we can do very little. As it is, most of you are already doing what you recycle, you don't waste energy, you don't drive your car everywhere. If you can walk, you walk or cycle or do whatever, you see. But it's not enough. You need more people to be involved and more government initiatives. But unfortunately, a lot of government initiatives are out of design or out of necessity are controlled by economic factors. So you say no. Okay, the earth is heating up. We can't, it'll not now lah, another 100 years lah. You cannot say that. I think it definitely won't work. But if you do that, by that time, it won't be 100 years. In 50 years, already gone already. Well, I'll come to a graphic this thing of how the bathtub and global warming this thing. Now, this thing is that it's like a bathtub. If you let the water go, it will overflow. If you stop it, then it won't go. Okay? So, this is how it is. It's just like a bathtub. Now, the gases are going in. We are not stopping, right? So, it will overflow. In the very old days, the tap was on. It was only dripping. And the outflow was just going out, so it maintained. Now, the outflow hole is the same, but the tap has been opened, full force water coming out, so it will overflow. Once you go beyond this tipping point, there's no way you can turn the earth around. This is already, well, it's debated. Some people say that we have already gone beyond the tipping point. Some scientists say, no, there is still time. So, but I certainly feel that if we still have time, if we do something, we may not be having as the world was in the 60s or 50s, but at least we'll have at least what we are having now. Now, we must make sure that in the future, we leave this to the future generation, rather than all this thing. Okay? And before I go off, maybe about 6 years ago, in one of the climate talk change, I asked, what is Georgetown or Penang doing about global warming, sea level rise, because of this thing? And the answer was the Drainage and Irrigation Department is doing a global coastal resource study, and they will tackle this matter. When the report came out, there's nothing about sea level rise and mitigation. So I don't know whether the state government has come up with these things and all. What is going to happen to our Georgetown Heritage Center? We are in a low-lying area. How many of you can remember when there's high tide, Kanaman Street used to be flooded, right? So a lot of your heritage site is going to go underwater. So what are we going to do? Because the heritage site brings in a lot of revenue, a lot of visitors, and it's an attraction for Penang. That's one of these things that attracts people to Penang, you know, other than its nature. So, thank you.